Metal groaned in the bones of the old textile factory as wind shoved dust through broken panes. Evelyn Rhodes moved low between toppled looms, breath measured, needle case clamped in her fist. The first masked man overcommitted. She pivoted, let his momentum carry, and drove a heavy darning needle into the nylon strap of his mask, pinning it to a jag of torn conveyor belt. He clawed at fabric instead of her throat. "Wrong woman," Evelyn said. Another came in fast. She slipped the tape measure from her neck and whipped it across his eyes. He cursed, blind for a beat. She palmed a seam ripper and sliced the zip tie binding her wrists. The ripper had freed more stubborn seams than this. Now it freed her. They had taken her thinking she was soft. 55, hairpinned, hands smelling of lavender and machine oil. They had missed the way her shoulders stayed relaxed when trouble walked in, the way she listened to breath before she listened to words. "Bring her," a third man said. "I stitch my own path," Evelyn said. She ducked under a steel arm, felt a fist graze her ear, and threw a palm heel into a rib. Bone thudded. She slid the needle under a leather glove, not into flesh, but into the glove's seam, and twisted. The glove cinched around his fingers like a tiny tourniquet. He yelped, dropped a pistol. It clattered and skated under a loom where someone's spilled bobbins lay like black marbles. A younger one lunged, scared and sloppy. She grabbed his wrist, pivoted, and used his weight to plant him on a platform. He gasped, wind knocked out. She saw blood running from his forearm where he had scraped it on rusted metal. Without pausing long, she tore a strip from her own sleeve and tied it tight, a quick knot to slow the bleed. "Get out while you can," Evelyn said. He stared at her in shock. He nodded, rolled off the platform, and crawled toward the shadows. Boots thundered deeper in, 4-on-1 now. The factory floor was a maze of cast iron machines and piles of mildewed bolts. She snagged a spool of heavy upholstery thread from a scattered box and looped it between a pair of posts. 2 steps later, one man hit the thread at shin height and pitched hard, skull cracking against concrete. He went still, breathing but out. "Move," the leader shouted. "Come cut me down," Evelyn said. She felt the old training in her muscles, the lessons a mother had borrowed from a quiet uncle who'd taught her how to let a strike pass like wind through a curtain. Her mother had always said a thing that Evelyn never forgot. Even the smallest needle can stitch the fate of a corrupted world. A shadow rushed her left. She slipped, drove her shoulder into a hip, and sent a man into a rack of bobbins so that they rained clattering like hail. She scooped a thimble from the floor and jammed it over her index finger, then punched. The thimble turned her knuckle into a brass button. He reeled. A cell phone vibrated on the floor near the fallen leader. It buzzed frantic against concrete. She glanced at the doorway. More footsteps, far off. She grabbed the phone and thumbed it on. "Status," a man said. His voice was sharp, stressed. "Tell me yours," Evelyn said. There was a beat of static. Then a different voice slid in, breathless and urgent. "Deliver the seamstress alive," the second voice said. "Hale wants the key. Midnight. Do not deviate. The pattern is in her blood." "Who are you?" Evelyn said. "Cut the bolt at the selvage," the voice said, and hung up. A pipe clanged. A gun barked, sparks biting the wall by her cheek. She dove behind a loom and crawled, the phone still in her hand. Hale. A name or a code. Her past had threads she had buried under rent receipts and hemlines and the quiet rhythm of a machine. "Come on, lady," someone said. "No more games." "Then bring better thread," Evelyn said. She slid a long needle between 2 boards, tied the upholstery thread to it, and drew it like a fisherman laying a silent net. She felt for a moment the cool weight of an old life settle on her shoulders. She didn't flinch. She set the trap, checked the door, and moved toward the back stair. Sirens keened in the distance, a thin ribbon of sound pulling closer through the city's night. Somewhere in the maze of alleys outside, a veteran detective was steering a battered sedan toward an address he didn't trust. Inside, Evelyn took one last look at the men waking around her and ran, the word Hale burning in her mind like a brand. Detective Robert Andrews parked under a dead streetlight outside the factory. 58, broad in the shoulders, suit jacket wrinkled from hours and a stubborn conscience, he stood in the wind and studied the brick. The call had come in as a disturbance. The first unit had heard a woman's voice and the word hail before comms cut off. Perimeter's soft, a uniform said. No sign of the female. She's not soft, Andrews said. He slipped inside, light sweeping over a battlefield of bobbins, thread like spider silk strung at shin height, and a man breathing shallow under a conveyor. He noted the knot on the young one's arm, a neat tie slowing blood. Who patched you? Andrews said. The lady, the young man said. She told me to run. You should listen, Andrews said. He found a phone on the floor, screen spidered. A recent call sat on display, unknown number. He bagged it. By a toppled crate, he spotted a scrap of fabric that did not belong. A crisp selvage from a high-grade bolt, marked with a faint emblem stitched into the edge, almost invisible. He held it to the light. A needle bent into a crescent inside a small circle. Not factory standard, covert. He felt old muscles in his memory clench. Years ago, a case out of the fashion district had used marks like that. Covert emblems embedded in cloth to move cash, diamonds, and names. It had burned 3 informants and 2 cops. The file sat heavy in his cabinet. Glue turned brown. Andrews called the lab. I want a priority on this selvage, Andrews said. Find the source and ping tech for the phone. I want the last number traced and everything in the cache. You got it, the lab tech said. He leaned on a pillar and looked over the floor, seeing a fight he had not witnessed. He imagined a woman, older, moving with precision, a seamstress who tied off a wound she didn't know. He called in his sergeant. Name on the victim? Andrews said. Evelyn Rhodes, the sergeant said, runs a small studio on 7th near Maple. Fixes hems for studio costumers and locals. Nothing on record. Paid her taxes. Lot of receipts from Hale Fabrics. At the name, Andrews felt the cold slide of recognition. Hale Fabrics. Old man Martin Hale, quiet, polite, a teacher to half the sewing community in the district. He sold remnants to kids and gave free thread to eagers at holiday time. He had opened his registers for the cops when the old case had heated up. Too clean. Maybe that had been the trick. Let's check her shop, Andrews said. Evelyn's studio smelled like cotton and coffee. A stool sat under a heavy singer. On a shelf, jars of buttons glowed like candy. He scanned, eyes falling on a photograph taped to the edge of a mirror. Younger Evelyn flanked by a man at a street fair. The man wore the kind of grin that dared a fight and welcomed a hug. Andrews had seen him before in a case file. Brother, Andrews said. Daniel Rhodes. Dead in '99, the sergeant said. Wrong place, wrong time, according to the file. Not wrong enough, Andrews said. He picked up a strip of muslin with test stitches. Each line was a different tension. One pattern, though, was off. It was a 3-stitch repeat, then a skip, then 5, then a skip, then 2. A code if you had the key. He ran his thumb along it, feeling guilt like a burr under the skin. The Rhodes file had been his. He had not been able to pull Daniel out when the net drew tight around the district. The lab called back. We got a partial on the selvage emblem, the tech said. Special order, boutique mark used by one vendor. Hale Fabrics. They embed it in premium bolts for loyal customers. Of course they do, Andrews said. He stepped back to the street as a delivery truck hummed past. He called Hale's number. It rang and then cut, replaced by a calm voice. Hale Fabrics, a man said. Late night for you, Martin, Andrews said. Detective Andrews, Martin Hale said. You sound tired. You ever know a seamstress named Evelyn Rhodes? Andrews said. I know many Evelyns, Hale said. Did you know her brother Daniel? Andrews said. There was the smallest pause, then a chuckle, like a hinge creaking. The district is a small world, Hale said. Some threads never disappear. You're marked in a factory where men tried to take her, Andrews said. I sell cloth, Hale said. And I sell doubt, Andrews said. Be careful how you pull, Detective, Hale said. Everyone unravels at a different pace. The line went dead. Andrews stared at his phone, shoulders heavy under a sky that felt too bright for 2 in the morning. He looked back at the studio window where the photo of Evelyn and her brother caught street lamplight. Find me every touch point between Rhodes and Hale, Andrews said. Pull the old case. We're not done with it. He did not see the figure across the street turn away from the window. He did not hear the door 2 buildings down click shut. He knew only that the emblem had come back, and with it a man who had smiled through a decade of clean audits. Evelyn slipped into the back of a diner off 9th, where the coffee never cooled, and the grill man knew half the cops by name. She kept her back to the wall, eyes on the door. A woman behind the counter slid her a cup without asking. "You look like you fought a sewing machine and won," the woman said. "I fought something," Evelyn said. Robert Andrews stepped in moments later, suit rumpled, eyes tired. He slid into the booth opposite. "You left a neat knot on a kid," Andrews said. "And he's alive," Evelyn said. "I'm Andrews," he said. "I know," Evelyn said. He nodded, surprised and not. "Tell me about Hale," Andrews said. "You tell me why your badge was near my brother when he died," Evelyn said. His jaw tightened. "Because I was the one who tried to pull him out," Andrews said, "and I failed." "Then we're even on being honest," Evelyn said. He slid the selvage scrap across the table. "This was at the factory," Andrews said. "It's Hale's mark." "I learned to sew under his lights," Evelyn said. "He showed me how to lay a grain line, how to talk to wholesalers without getting burned. He told me this city could be stitched back together if we were patient." "Did he also tell you how to hide messages in a hem?" Andrews said. Her eyes flicked. "What do you really want, Detective?" Evelyn said. "I want you alive," Andrews said, "and I want the men who took your brother and tried to take you." She checked the door. A man she recognized as a runner for Santee Alley leaned on a newspaper stand across the street. He looked in, glanced away too quickly. Her skin prickled. "They'll keep coming until midnight," Evelyn said. "Someone gave that order. I heard it. Then let's give them a different pattern to follow," Andrews said. They left cash on the table and moved into the alley behind the diner. Andrews watched the runner peel off his stand and trail after. He let him. "You feel like having a conversation?" Andrews said. Luis Ortega stepped from the shadows, hands up. 32, gaunt, hungry in the eyes. "I don't want trouble," Luis said. "You brought it," Andrews said. Luis glanced at Evelyn. "I heard how you tied the kid's arm," Luis said. "You didn't have to do that." "People are not bolts," Evelyn said. Luis nodded, swallowed. "They're moving you again," Luis said. "Frank Donovan's got new orders. He answers to a man who never leaves his shop." "Speak straight," Andrews said. "Hale," Luis said. "He plays everyone. He's been buying cops, too. Not all, enough." "You're one of Frank's?" Andrews said. "I was," Luis said. "He thinks I am. I want out." "Why tell us?" Evelyn said. "Because the network will swallow me," Luis said. "And I don't want to drown standing in front of a mirror." Andrews gave him a card. "Call me from a phone you throw away," Andrews said. "Now go where your mother doesn't know. We'll find you when it's done." Luis faded back. Evelyn looked at Andrews. "You believe him?" Evelyn said. "I believe in survival," Andrews said. "We'll vet him." They moved through the fashion district, the city waking even at night. Evelyn led, picking routes between loading docks and shuttered storefronts. She stopped at a door that looked like all the others and knocked twice, then once, then twice. A bolt slid. A narrow man named Tyler with inked wrists and a smooth smile blinked out. "Evelyn," Tyler said, "you should not be here." "We need access," Evelyn said. "Access to what?" Tyler said. "The old storage under the mill," Evelyn said. Tyler looked past them. "You brought a cop," Tyler said. "A good one," Evelyn said. Tyler tipped his head. "Good is flexible," Tyler said. "Frank is coming for you. You are making noise. Noise gets me fired." "And shot if you pick the wrong side," Andrews said. Tyler's smile turned brittle. "I'll take you down the service stairs," Tyler said. "But you didn't hear about the back gate from me." They followed Tyler into a corridor that smelled of damp and oil. He unlocked a grate and led them down concrete steps. As they descended, Evelyn felt the familiar hum of machines through stone, ghosts of work still vibrating in the city's bones. At the bottom, Tyler turned, voice low. "There's a reason we never talk about the old mill," Tyler said. "It was where people learned to sew more than clothes. And you learned to play both sides," Andrews said. Tyler's eyes flicked to a camera tucked under a pipe. "I learned to live," Tyler said. They moved into a corridor lined with storage units, metal doors, padlocks, numbers in chalk. Evelyn stopped at a door with a faint crescent scratch near the latch. She pressed her ear to it and heard a slow drip inside. Here, Evelyn said. Tyler looked like a man in a room with only wrong answers. He fumbled keys and opened the lock. As the door rolled up, light cut a strip into the gloom and landed on rolls of cloth wrapped in plastic, each marked with the same crescent emblem as the selvage scrap. Evidence, Andrews said. Tyler shifted. This is where I leave, Tyler said. Not yet, Andrews said. Tyler lifted his hands, smile snapping back into place. You're too slow, Tyler said. The overhead lights punched on. Doors up and down the corridor rattled open. Men stepped out of the units, guns in hand. Tyler moved behind them, and the friendly, narrow face became something colder. Frank sends his regards, Tyler said. Of course he does, Evelyn said. She reached for Andrews, pulled him behind a stack of bolts as gunfire stitched light through dust. She shoved a roll with her foot and it tumbled, knocking 2 men back. Andrews drew his pistol and returned fire in short, controlled bursts, aiming at knees, wrists, anything that would end the conversation without a funeral. Evelyn flung a fistful of straight pins into the air. They flashed, distracting enough for her to sprint to the end of the row. A door at the far end yawned open to night. Run, Andrews said. Together, Evelyn said. They sprinted, bullets whining, Tyler shouting, and hit the door as boots closed from behind. Outside, the alley's cold air hit them hard. A floodlight snapped on, and in it stood Frank Donovan, jaw square, eyes empty, gun steady. Hi, seamstress, Frank said. Your stitches are crooked, Evelyn said. Get in the van, Frank said. From behind them, Tyler laughed. All your exits are mine, Tyler said. Evelyn looked at Andrews, jaw set. She saw an unmarked patrol car 2 blocks down, a silhouette at the wheel she thought she recognized. Luis. He raised a hand, small, hidden. He tapped twice on the roof. Stay calm, Andrews said. You always say that, Evelyn said. Only when I'm lying, Andrews said. The van door slid open. The chapter hung on the sharp line of Frank's smile and the dark maw of the van, and the question of whether a runner with nothing to lose would stay loyal to the wrong side 1 more minute. They went into the van because there were guns, and sometimes survival meant stepping into a smaller box to get to a larger door. Tyler kept 2 guns trained on Andrews the whole time, eyes smug. Frank sat opposite Evelyn, elbows on knees, a smirk shaped by years of getting away with it. You should have stayed behind your machine, Frank said. You should have stayed in school, Evelyn said. The van rattled over potholes toward the river. They stopped at a warehouse that had once been a mill and now wore a coat of graffiti and quiet. Inside, lights hummed to life. It was the same world as the first factory, but the ghosts here were louder. Down, Tyler said. They went down a hall to a room lined with iron tables. In the center stood a man in a neat cardigan, silver hair trimmed, hands clean as paper. Martin Hale looked like someone's careful grandfather. He smiled at Evelyn, the way a choir director smiles at a soloist. Evelyn, Hale said, welcome home. Do not use that word, Evelyn said. Hale spread his hands. Words have weight, Hale said. If they didn't, we'd be out of work. Andrews stepped forward. You orchestrated a kidnapping, Andrews said. Hush, Hale said softly, like he used to when a student's machine jammed. You're out of your jurisdiction, detective, again. You used my shop as a honeypot, Evelyn said. You took my brother. Hale's smile thinned. Daniel made his own choices, Hale said. He bled for fools. I offered him a needle. He wanted a gun. You offered him chains, Evelyn said. Hale nodded toward a table where cloth was laid out in a neat grid. On it sat an old tin of pins, a spool of red thread, an ivory-handled awl. He placed a piece of cloth in front of her, marked faintly at the margins with numbers. Your mother was a marvel, Hale said. She taught you the Rhodes stitch. It's a code, as you know. Names, dates, accounts stitched into seams. People underestimate what can be hidden close to the skin. You killed her work, Evelyn said. I elevated it, Hale said. I ran a network that kept men like Frank in shape and money moving in the dark. It was balanced. Until you left. I need the key she put in you. You can unlock shipments and accounts my rivals now use to choke me. Then you can go back to your singer. You're quiet. You're lavender. Andrews took a step. A gun clicked behind his ear, and he froze. He watched Evelyn not flinch. "You're burning the district," Andrews said. "Only the parts that fray," Hale said. Frank leaned on a pillar, bored. "Hale's poetry class is costing me money," Frank said. "There," Hale said to Evelyn, pointing at the cloth. "Stitch me the key. 3, 5, 2, then the skip. You know the rhythm. It's in your hands. It's in your blood. I listened to the call, too." "I don't have your answers," Evelyn said. "You do," Hale said. "Your mother made sure you would. She loved you. She wanted you safe, and safe in this world is tied to useful." He placed a needle in front of her, the metal glinting like a small threat. Andrews saw Evelyn's eyes go distant, then sharp. "Let me ask you a question," Evelyn said. "If I give you the key, what do you do for the kids who work under your lights and never see daylight?" "I pay them on time," Hale said. "You keep them on a leash," Evelyn said. Hale's eyes cooled. "Stitch," Hale said. Evelyn looked at the cloth, then at Andrews. "Do you trust me?" Evelyn said. "With the part that matters," Andrews said. She took the needle, threaded it, and began to sew. Her fingers moved steady, the thread pulling neat, the pattern falling into place. Hale leaned in, breath a little quick. Frank watched the door. Tyler watched the money. While she sewed, her mind moved faster than her hands. The pattern was a code. She could change it. She could fold the numbers to spell a route instead of an account, a place instead of a vault. She could lead everyone to one room and close the door. "Almost done," Evelyn said. Hale smiled. "Good," Hale said. She clipped the thread, tied it, and held the cloth up. "The key," Evelyn said. Hale took it, eyes bright, fingers nimble. He felt along the edge for the raised code and nodded, satisfied. "Where does it open?" Frank said. "A mill," Hale said. "The old one by the river. The last place anyone would look. We move tonight." Andrews breathed slow. He filed the location in his head and saw the route his team would take if he still had a team. He was not sure he did. He had a handful of cops he trusted and a city that had learned to doubt. Hale nodded to Tyler. "Keep her. If she runs, cut him," Hale said, tilting his chin at Andrews. Hale and Frank left with half the men. The rest stayed, guns on them. As the door closed, the room shrank. Tyler stood by the frame, mouth twisting. "You didn't have to pick this side," Andrews said. Tyler shrugged. "Sides pick us," Tyler said. Evelyn bent her head, fingers busy on the hem of the cloth still on the table. Tyler watched, bored, until he saw what she had done. She had stitched a second line under the first, a silent thread meant for a different reader. "What is that?" Tyler said. "A map to a place where you don't exist," Evelyn said. He stepped forward, and in that step he revealed something in his eyes that had not been there before. Fear. He had seen enough to know what happened to men who lost masters. "Don't be brave," Tyler said. "I'm done being quiet," Evelyn said. She pulled a hidden cord she had routed earlier while she'd been sewing, a cord she had fed under the table legs and around Tyler's ankles. He stumbled. Andrews moved like a man who had played this game for decades. He pivoted, slammed his shoulder into the nearest gunman, and took him down. A shot cracked, plaster spitting. Evelyn whipped the tape measure around Tyler's wrist and yanked. He toppled, eyes wide. Two men scrambled, cursing. Evelyn flung the thimble she had palmed into one man's eye, a hard sting that made him fire into the ceiling. Andrews took the second with a controlled elbow and a quick twist. He kept his holster closed. He'd shoot if he had to. He preferred not to. "Move," Andrews said. They ran. Behind them, Tyler screamed for help. In front of them, a door slammed. When they reached it, it was locked. Through the small window, they saw more men coming. Evelyn turned, chest heaving, eyes on the stair that led down to a dead end. "No way out," Andrews said. "There is, if you cut new cloth," Evelyn said. Men pounded toward them. The room narrowed to a single line of light under the door. The last thing they heard before the crash of boots was Tyler's voice promising that the next time there would be no cloth and no needle and no tape measure to save them. The mill by the river crouched under the freeway like a guilty thought. Pigeons nested in its rafters. The Los Angeles River slid by thin and stubborn in its concrete bed. When Hale's convoy rolled in, lights off, a figure on a rooftop across the way lifted a phone. Luis spoke into the mic. "They're here," Louise said. On the far end of a staticky channel, a quiet voice answered. "Copy," a woman said. "Maintain position." Inside their temporary cage at the first warehouse, Evelyn and Andrews moved in the dark, guided by knowledge of how rooms like this were built. She had lived in old mills, in their smells, in their rhythms. She located a maintenance panel by feeling for the slight ridge and pried it with the ivory awl. Behind it, a crawl space gaped, dusty and tight. "You first," Andrews said. "I've never been first," Evelyn said. "Then start now," Andrews said. They wriggled through. On the other side, a grate gave way to the alley. They moved low, silent toward the river. "Why do you carry a guilt you didn't earn?" Evelyn said. "Because I was supposed to be there when Daniel called," Andrews said. "He left a message at the desk. I was home early because my kid had a fever. He died while I watched cartoons. I told myself I'd atone by watching over you from a distance. It wasn't enough." "You've been in my file," Evelyn said. "I've been outside your shop," Andrews said. "Never inside. Cowardice wears a badge sometimes." "You came inside tonight," Evelyn said. "Too late," Andrews said. "We're not done yet," Evelyn said. At the river mill, Hale stood in the big room under the rafters and read the code Evelyn had stitched. He smiled when he found the panel in the floor that matched the numbers in the stitch. He signaled Frank. Frank pried it open with a crowbar and found crates stamped with foreign brands no one in the district had ever ordered. He cracked one. Inside were ledgers, cash, small velvet bags. Hale's eyes warmed with relief and greed. "The world is silk if you know where to touch it," Hale said. Frank grunted. "We'll load it," Frank said. Outside, Louise stood in the shadow of a stack of pallets, heart pounding. He watched for the signal he had been promised. What he got was a hand on his shoulder and a voice in his ear. "You could run," Andrews said. Louise turned, startled. "You got out," Louise said. "We make our own doors," Andrews said. Evelyn stood beside him, face hard. "Which way to the main room?" Evelyn said. Louise pointed. "North side," Louise said. "Hale's got 8 men. Frank's got 4 left. More on the way." "Then we use what we have," Evelyn said. They crept along the wall. Evelyn paused by a rack of industrial thread spools stacked high on a rolling ladder. She pulled a pin from her pocket, tied a line of thread across the ladder's rung, and anchored it to a hook. She laid another thread low across the walkway. The room hummed with the quiet focus of men who thought they were alone. "Remember when you told me to stay behind my machine?" Evelyn said. "I was wrong," Andrews said. She smiled, quick, fierce. "You still owe me the truth about one more thing," Evelyn said. "Name it," Andrews said. "Why, you never knocked on my door," Evelyn said. "Because I didn't think I could look you in the eye and say I had done my job," Andrews said. "You're doing it now," Evelyn said. They moved. Evelyn slipped behind a loom and waited. She had threaded a line from one high beam to another, a trip that would release a cascade of bobbins when tugged. She tugged. Bobbins skittered across the floor, loud, distracting. Men turned toward the sound. Louise killed the lights. Darkness swallowed the room, then a hard white glare from a single flood lamp slammed on from the opposite side, focused on Frank. He flinched, blinded. Evelyn ran in low and snapped the tape measure around the wrist of the nearest gun hand. She yanked, turned, and rammed the man into a pillar. Andrews moved with her, disarming a second with a quick twist and a knee. Louise cut the ladder's thread. It rolled, spools cascading, knocking men to their knees. Hale shouted, voice tight. "Light," Hale said. "No," Evelyn said. She flung a handful of needles into the air, not to wound but to draw eyes. While they tracked the glint, she dove for the crate and ripped an inner lining free. Inside, wrapped tight, lay the ledger Hale had hidden years ago. Her mother's stitch ran along its edge, a ghost line of code that spelled out a list of names. Cops, brokers, shop owners, and dates that matched nights of fires and beatings and payoffs. "Evidence," Andrews said. "Careful," Evelyn said. Frank saw the ledger and lunged. Evelyn met him head on. He was heavier, but he moved like a man who lived on threat. She moved like a woman who lived on precision. She slipped his grip, jammed the thimble against the nerves in his forearm, and he dropped his gun. She kicked it under the crate and then drove the awl into the wood beside his face, pinning his shirt. He struggled, shirt tearing, face red. "You think I'm the worst of it," Frank said. "You're a symptom," Evelyn said. Hale pulled a small pistol and aimed at Andrews. "Drop it," Hale said. Andrews stood still, breath slow. "You never sewed a day in your life," Andrews said. "I sewed men together into a system," Hale said. "Bad stitches pop," Andrews said. Hale fired. Andrews pivoted to cover Evelyn, taking the edge of the shot across his shoulder. He staggered. Evelyn grabbed him, pulled him behind a loom. "You all right?" Evelyn said. "It's a nick," Andrews said. "Don't lie to me now," Evelyn said. "Okay, it hurts," Andrews said. She tore her hem with a quick rip and wrapped his shoulder tight. "Stay with me," Evelyn said. "Wasn't going anywhere," Andrews said. Luis appeared at the far door and waved. Two figures in plain clothes slipped in behind him, not uniforms. Andrew's handful of cops who still believed in the job over the politics. They fanned out. "LAPD," one of them said. "Drop it." Hale looked around. His men were scattered. Frank was pinned. The ledger in Evelyn's hands looked heavier than any gun. He tried a smile. "You think you can use that?" Hale said. "The city will chew it up and spit you out." "Maybe," Andrews said, "but you're going in with it, lodged in your throat." Hale shifted, calculating. Evelyn stepped out, steady. "Do you know what my mother said to me when I asked her why she sewed late into the night?" Evelyn said. "I don't care," Hale said. "She said a needle can stitch a wound or a shroud," Evelyn said. "She chose the wound. You chose the shroud." He fired again, desperate. Evelyn snapped the tape measure up like a ribbon, and the bullet clipped it and veered into the wall. A cop returned fire, grazing Hale's arm. He dropped the pistol and went to his knees, hands up, mouth suddenly empty of speeches. Frank tore free of the awl and lunged again. Luis stepped out and put a hand on Frank's shoulder, pressing him down. For a second, they were two men, breathing hard in a bad place. Frank looked at Luis like he couldn't remember his name. "Sorry," Luis said. "Screw you," Frank said. Handcuffs clicked. The room felt larger. The river whispered through concrete outside. Andrews leaned against a pillar and breathed through the pain. Evelyn stood with the ledger, the thimble heavy on her finger. It struck her that a life spent making small, careful adjustments had prepared her to break a bigger pattern. "Ambulance," Andrews said. "After we photograph that," Evelyn said. He sat, chuckled despite the hurt. "You tell me what to do now," Andrews said. "Only for a minute," Evelyn said. Officers moved in, collected guns, tightened cuffs. Hale kept his eyes on the ledger as if looking at it could will it shut. "You used my mother's work to hurt people," Evelyn said. "I used it to survive," Hale said. "You never learned the difference," Evelyn said. Later, under the freeway's steady rumble, Andrew sat on the back of an ambulance step, shoulder-wrapped. Evelyn stood beside him, watching the last of the evidence boxes lifted into vans. "You said you watched over me," Evelyn said. "I did it badly," Andrews said. "You did it," Evelyn said. He looked up at her, eyes tired and clean. "What do you do now?" Andrews said. "I go home," Evelyn said. "I open my shop in the morning. I fix 'ems. And once a week I teach kids in the district how to read what's sewn around them. They should know how to bind wounds and cut ties." "Justice isn't neat," Andrews said. "Neither are most seams," Evelyn said. A reporter shouted questions from the edge of the tape. The city asked for a narrative. It would get one. Some would be true. Some would be convenient. Evelyn knew the kind she would live. "Thank you," Luis said. Evelyn turned. "Get out while you can," Evelyn said. "I will," Luis said. He disappeared into the night. The sirens softened. The mill settled back into the city's noise. Andrews stood, wincing. "You saved me," Andrews said. "You saved me first," Evelyn said. He shook his head. "No," Andrews said, "you saved yourself. I just finally did my job." She looked at the river, gray in the dark. She could see her mother's hands in the way the water stitched through the concrete, relentless and quiet. She could hear the line from years ago, spoken at a kitchen table over a shirt with a missing button. Even the smallest needle can stitch the fate of a corrupted world. "See you at the shop," Andrews said. "Bring a jacket with honest holes," Evelyn said. He smiled. "I have those," Andrews said. He walked to his car as dawn lifted over the freeway. and Evelyn stood for a long breath in the echo of everything that had been broken and everything that had somehow held. In the days ahead, the ledger would pull men into light who had lived too long in shade. People would mutter that a seamstress had done what the city couldn't. She would know better. A seamstress had simply used the tools she had, and sometimes that was enough to rethread the edges of a world coming apart.